Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone here from the public who would like to address the board? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to approval of the June 5, 2019 minutes, which were in your packet. Are there any additions or corrections to the June meeting minutes? Okay, seeing none, I would entertain a motion then to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? If not, you yes?
So I'd just like to note on page, there's not a page number, but 5214. Oh, sorry, thanks. That's too small for me. Page 3, 5214. There's a discussion about Mr. Is it Hogue?
5214. Okay.
Mr. Hogue. Is that right? Is it Hogue?
Hoagie.
Hoagie. I'd just like to note for the record that was not on the posted agenda that day. But I'll still vote yes for it. But that topic or that paragraph was not on the posted agenda for the retreat.
Any other discussion? If not, you can call the roll.
Matt,
Yes.
Playcheck,
Yes.
Purdy,
Pass.
abstain.
Abstain. Wasn't there.
Ray
Aye.
and Erickson.
Aye.
4 ayes
One abstention.
and 1 abstention.
Okay, motion carries. All right, now I would call on Lance for a motion.
I move the Board of Trustees go into closed session for the protection of the public interest and for the prevention of grievous injury to the reputation of individuals to discuss with legal counsel and Cecilia Carter litigation matters affecting the trust fund and personal financial matters regarding members of OSERS.
Okay, it's been moved. We go into closed session. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All right, seeing none, call the roll.
Erickson,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Playcheck,
Aye.
Purdy,
Aye.
and Ray.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Okay, motion carries. Let me remind the board that the purpose for closed session is for the protection of the public interest and for the preservation of needless injury to the reputation of individuals, to discuss with legal counsel and Cecilia Carter litigation matters affecting the trust fund and personal financial matters regarding members of OSERS.
All right.
Okay, I'll call the meeting back to order. If you would call the roll.
Okay, just 1 second. Erickson,
Here.
Logan, here. Purdy,
Here.
Ray,
Here.
Playcheck,
Here.
getting there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 present.
Okay, we still have a quorum. At this point, I would call on Roger for a motion.
I move that the Board of Trustees ratify the July pension payments in the amount of $10,502,578.18, paid to 4,934 payees. Ratify the August pension payments in the amount of $10,532,092.01, paid to 4,937 retirees. Ratify the July staff payroll in the amount of $30,017.11. Ratify the August staff payroll in the amount of $30,017.11. Ratify 17 new retirees effective July 1st, whose first pension check will be August 3rd of 2019. Ratify 35 new retirees effective August 1st, whose first pension check will be paid September 3, 2019. Ratify termination of 11 retirements due to death of the retiree, and ratify 3 joint and survivor annuitants, Ratify July 2019 refunds to 28 former members of OSERS in the amount of $628,832.86. Ratify August 2019 refunds to 18 former OSERS members in the amount of $382,832.40. And approve the accounts payable for the month of June in the amount of $30,567.98.
Okay, it's been moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? All right, if you're not, call the roll, please.
Logan? Aye. Plotcheck?
Aye.
Purdy?
Aye.
Ray?
Aye.
Erickson?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Okay, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is action on the meeting calendar for this coming year.
Okay.
You have a handout in your packet with some proposed dates. You want to take this?
I'm going to start it.
Okay, you can start. All right, these are the typical dates that we have typically met on the first Wednesday of every month, but with respect to some people's ability to attend, we're thinking about, I just want to throw this out for everyone's discussion here, changing the meeting times and perhaps even the location. So I guess Cecilia and I have talked, we proposed moving the meetings to 4 o'clock in the afternoon and even potentially meeting at the OEA office at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We're having a lot of trouble with this, as you see what's going on here today. It's hard to get a quiet place to meet, so we thought about moving the meetings to that location. So I guess I would just open it up to see what everybody else's thoughts were about it.
I'm not in favor of that. I don't. If we need to switch to the 5-1-5-1, then I think that's fine. But I don't really see a need to move the meeting. I don't know how many years we've been having it here.
We're going to close the door. There's a sign that says it's open.
It's open, right.
And the
See,
public's
that's
here.
part of the problem.
I
in here.
understand.
We don't. This room is now constantly being used, so we don't have a private time where we can be here. We've always met before; it's never been used, so
We have
that's
5
part of the issue.
meetings in the future that will conflict with something going on. So it's either move, or changing dates.
If we move to the 5-1-5-1 location upstairs, what's the difference there? Because there's nothing else in that room.
Right. So
So we
that's
can
an
move to
option
the
too.
5-1-5-1.
That's an option as well.
It's right in the building, just upstairs.
Would we still have recording capability?
He will have to move things. Either place, we will have recording. Yeah.
And then I've got the whole
And then it's the
4 o'clock time works better with my situation. It's,
because of your situation, and it's not yours. It's anyone who's in that seat.
right. Anyone who's
They are required to
certificated
use
teacher, we got to
Right.
use our
personal time.
personal days before the district then would allow us time off to come to the meetings. So, and that costs me money.
It costs anyone who's in the seat.
Anyone in the seat, So the 4 o'clock time, though I know it's not ideal because people have evening activities and kids and sports and stuff going on. But if we could have even more in the afternoon, that would benefit me.
My experience with meetings at 4 o'clock is that attendance drops off pretty quickly from people who have other obligations. I think a 1 o'clock start time might make some sense. It used to be that the member trustees had no trouble getting off to come to these meetings for the day. Has there been a change in the reason that member trustees are no longer allowed to attend the meetings without the loss of personal time?
I know that last year we allowed you to use, I know that I provided time for you. Did you use your personal leave last year?
Last year, no. I was allowed half a day.
Okay.
That's never been
Did
the case.
somebody share with you that you weren't going to be allowed a half day this year?
Well, the new contract has a clause, I guess. I don't know what the right terminology in
Which
there.
new? You mean the OEA contract?
OEA contract. Yeah, it stipulates that for me or a person who attends that's elected to a board
Or appointed.
or board appointed to attend meetings, that they are then to use their personal days first, and then the district would approve as.
That's because we have people on all sorts of non-profit boards who are requesting. They all request leave because they all say that they are something that benefits children in the school district. So it's not just this board. It's
Right.
United Way. It's any board that people are sitting on. So we have to have a standard.
Has that changed in some way? Are there just more people being on boards than used to be?
It's always been that way, that we have a lot of people on boards that just hadn't been addressed. And so principals were saying they're being requested to have this time off. They used this board as an example of saying, well, why folks can't be off for all these other boards. So that's something that we can work through.
Okay.
I mean, I like the 4 o'clock start time because I feel like teachers and employees who may want to come can come, have more of an opportunity to come at 4 o'clock. They don't have an opportunity to come at 1 o'clock because they're in the middle of the day.
Right.
They don't have an opportunity to come at 9 o'clock in the morning because during their work day.
Right.
4 o'clock is a time that could work.
At 1 o'clock, at least this year for me, my classes are stacked in the afternoon. So, just, you know how scheduling is, it's just a look of the draw, but I go straight from 11 to 3, no breaks.
Are you going to have bus duty again?
Oh yeah, I got bus duty, but that's just 1 quarter. Right, so, but I could 4 o'clock is a reasonable time for me to make it. I don't know about Scott. I mean, I know he's got younger kids. He doesn't?
Delane does.
Delane does.
So do I.
You have little kids, I'm sorry.
It's nice.
They
to
get
make
bigger. They get
breakfast.
bigger.
It's really nice.
I mean, personally, I'm agnostic. I can come anytime. It doesn't make any difference to me. So
Okay.
my schedule will allow me to come anytime at all. So
How's it work
What
with
you all
getting
think?
Pat in? I mean, is she okay coming up at 4?
Yeah, she has other board meetings that start at 4. And as long as you give them notice, yeah.
Okay. Michael from CIR and all that?
As long as you give them notice.
And I see. I'm sorry.
And I see A, B, C, D.
And I say yes. As long as you give them notice.
Works. Why don't you try it for a
Right.
year and see how it works? You don't have to set it in cement.
No, and you can we can change it anytime.
You can-
you can change it anytime you want to.
See how it works.
Okay.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is we're going to stick to Wednesdays, the first Wednesday, but it's at 4 o'clock instead of 9. And probable room change. I'll work
You're
with
much less apt to have something because these are enrollment fairs or during the day.
Oh, there are 5
but-
throughout the course of the,
Yeah, but I mean, but during at 4 o'clock we have a lot less meetings. Those are usually workshops that are being held during
Yeah.
the day.
During the day.
So they're over at 3:30. So this room will probably be more available.
Okay. I will work with,
It'd be
The
great to
board
keep
secretary?
It'd be great to keep the room the same in my
Yeah.
estimation because it's easier for the recording.
I will work with, what do you call it, board secretary to move them down to 4 and see if there's any conflicts and we'll figure it out.
So for the next meeting, should we plan then on the September meeting to be, instead of at 9 o'clock, have it at 4 o'clock?
At 4 o'clock.
We'll start with that. and see how it goes. And you'll have a report at the next meeting
Yeah.
of how that works going forward. I mean, that's fine with me. I can come anytime. So.
I guess the only fly on the ointment, it may not be a big matter, but the OEA joining us at
OEA board.
board meeting on the first Wednesday of the month at 4 o'clock also, I guess at 5 o'clock, so they start 1 at 4.
You don't
and 5.
attend those, do you have to go to this?
No, but then that would mean Bobby would have a tough time attending these. But that can be, I assume, can be worked out.
But there's nothing magic about having these meetings on Wednesday either. I mean,
True.
you could have them on Thursday. I wouldn't have them on Monday or Friday.
No Monday or Friday.
Not Fridays are out.
Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday is fine with me. So, would the day of the week make a difference? Does that bother anybody? It doesn't me.
Tuesdays are generally bad for me because we've got AR meetings on Tuesdays, and I've got the vestry for church on the first Tuesday of the month.
So, do we want to change it to Thursday then? Does that bother anybody? Changing it to Thursday? All right, then why don't we do Thursdays? And that
Thursdays at 4.
Thursdays at 4 o'clock. So the first meeting will be September 5th,
I'm going to make a change.
Thursday. And we'll plan to meet in this room unless we're notified otherwise. Maybe you could put out a new schedule.
Oh, yeah.
for everybody,
This
so-
will get reposted and it'll get posted to our website as soon as I finish working with Board Secretary's office.
Okay.
Can you send it around via email?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion on that item?
I mean, I appreciate the board's flexibility in working on this.
You'll be in charge of bringing dinner, though.
Dinner, all right. No worries. I'll bring something.
It's only fair, isn't it?
I would agree.
All right.
Food is a good thing.
All right, then we'll move on. The next item is action on the actuarial services RFP.
Okay, so in your package is the RFP scope of work. It's not the full RFP, it's just the scope of work. We'll use the OPS template for the actual RFP to keep it within guidelines. At the June meeting, you approved the timeline, but this is just a review of the scope of work. I've given it to everyone to let them have an opportunity to read it beforehand. I've gotten a couple of comments back. They were incorporated, and they were more grammatical. I will say each piece of scope of work will be asked to be bid out separately, so that we can, upon getting the bids, can say whether something is worth doing or not. The first part, consulting services B1, that is our standard scope of work that we always ask of our actuary. Okay. 2, valuation services. That is standard work that we ask of our actuaries. So that's the valuation reports, the GASB reports. That's standard. Three and 4. Yeah, 3 and 4. No, I'm sorry. 3 is standard because that's GASB work as well. 4 is asking them to do something extra, and it's more projection services. Okay. We've not had this written in a contract before, but we're asking them to put it into the contract. It will bid it out separately, and if we decide that, okay, this is not worth this, or it's too expensive, then we cannot negotiate it into the contract.
Are all these things in our contract now?
The only thing is 4.
The standard.
The standards, and then the experience study is that standard. That's number 5, and then number 6, benefit adequacy study. Okay. Now I've looked through our records, our historical records, and we have not had a benefit adequacy study done. It'll probably be costly, but that's why I'm asking them to bid it out separately. And then we'll see if it's worth it. I do know that the other plan in Nebraska is asking for the same thing to be done.
You happen to have another one on that page. That's one page that I have missing in mine. Unless I'm missing something.
Okay.
Numbers. I stop at 4, and then I go to 7.
Wow, how'd that happen?
Here, I may have another here.
Over Delane's.
No,
I think should it be in here?
Yep. You just go. Yeah. Okay. Here's a whole new that section.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So benefit adequacy study, that is definitely new. That is being asked by the Nebraska retirement system as well. They did that last year in their RFP. So again, see how much it costs, and we make a decision from that when we get the bids.
I got a question on that. When you say bid it out, just this firm or opening up to other actuaries?
All. It goes, yeah. In fact, I didn't bring it with me. I did say I'd have a list. So, of course, Kavanaugh McDonald, Milliman, Gabriel Roeder Smith out of Chicago office. They do some work with plans our size. And then, of course, it gets posted. So anybody can see that, OPS/OSER has a RFP out there.
So this benefit adequacy, is that from the perspective of the retiree?
Yeah,
Is that what it's trying to get at?
Yes, is the benefit that's being
Paid for,
potential,
given.
right?
Yeah.
Is this adequate? Is it too much? Is it right? How does it compare? Because remember, ours is a Social Security system as well, whereas many other teacher systems are not Social Security. So, what does it look like?
Well, what would we do with that information, since we really don't have anything to do with benefits? What would we do with what if they say, you're not offering nearly enough? What do we do?
That's information for our legislators that we could share. And the district. But it's knowing where we stand. It's knowing where we stand.
Well, it would reassure people that, hey, is this plan a Cadillac plan? Are these teachers getting rich in retirement? Are they surviving? Do they haven't eaten dog food? All sorts of things.
They look pretty healthy.
Yeah. They sure drive nice cars.
Our two retirees who are present look very healthy.
Okay, no, I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah. Okay. So, again, I will work with OPS purchasing, and I will let the board know when the RFP has been issued and give you a full copy of it. It'll get posted. It will get sent to invited firms. And if you know someone else, you can send it off yourself.
I do have a question about the duration of the contract.
Oh, okay.
It's a 4-year contract. I know that the state law says we should do this every 4 years. That's the reason it's a 4-year contract. But I kind of wondered about the optional renewal for 3 years. Since we're supposed to do an experience study every 4 years, I thought maybe we ought to be better off extending for one additional 4-year term. Is there a reason we couldn't extend to an additional 4-year term as opposed to a 3-year term?
I changed
This
that.
is the deed.
I did change that. Bidding process every 4 year.
You mean with automatic renewal?
Right. Oh, additional. Yes, thank you. That should be 4.
Okay. So this would be 4.
What page are
That would be C. And it's the very last full line.
Three, I see. That's a good catch. That would make more sense.
I think that was also in another previous paragraph here someplace about.
Maybe that's going to change. Yeah, here it is, in D, 5D. Is that it?
Yes. Yeah, that was basically consistent at least.
Okay.
Okay.
So with that, I'm asked for a motion to approve the scope of work, and we'll move forward with this.
Okay, so I will ask for that motion to approve this with the changes that have been noted.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, you can call a roll.
Ray,
Aye.
Logan,
Aye.
Plachek,
Aye.
Purdy,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
5 ayes.
Okay, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is action and discussion on the actuarial model and user agreement.
Okay, so at our June retreat meeting, the board asked Kavanaugh McDonald, no, actually it was the May meeting, asked Kavanaugh McDonald, no, it was June meeting, about getting a model for the office to use so that if we want to do the what ifs ourselves, we would have a tool on hand with our assumptions already built in, and we could process some what if simulations. Okay. The cost for doing that when I initially bought it up was $6,500. However, at the June meeting, we also asked about putting on 2 more components to it. And Kavanaugh McDonald has expressed to me the addition of the 2 additional components, looking at it from a contribution perspective, was an additional $1,000. So we're looking at a cost of $7,500. Also, because this is proprietary product, we would have to sign a user agreement which limits us on how this model can be used, which means I would be precluded from sending it out to the board and saying, here, you can have it on your own laptop, because it can't be sent out from there. So, one avenue is we do purchase it. Board has questions. I run simulations. Staff runs simulations. We send you the final result. Okay. There's another thing that I do want to bring up to the board. This is based on our assumptions today. The minute we change our assumptions, this becomes invalid. Okay. There's a cost to asking Kavanaugh McDonald to run simulations if, we have a meeting and we say, well, we want to see what this looks like, and this looks like. Is that less expensive than $7,500? How often are we going to ask this? I wasn't expecting the user agreement, all the limitations. The cost is an issue, a question for me, because like I said, the minute we change our assumptions, this becomes a useless tool.
You can't just update it with new
It's a
assumptions.
cost. It's a cost.
So there's an ongoing cost.
There's an ongoing cost.
So a maintenance cost.
A maintenance cost, yeah. How often are we going to use it?
Well, who was asking?
Well, I think we all got a little excited at the thought of having something on site. You weren't at the June retreat.
Okay, I was going to say I wasn't that excited.
You weren't there.
Wasn't there?
So with that note, if the board still wants to move forward with that, I can give her instructions to go ahead and create it. Otherwise, the alternative is every time we have a question, we just say, hey, can you run this simulation for us?
What does she charge to run the simulations?
It's usually by the hour. So it's the junior actually runs it, she reviews it. Right.
So when we ask her to run a simulation, is it $500, $1,000, $10,000?
Oh, it is roughly a little under 500. I mean, it doesn't take that long to run the simulation. No.
It just doesn't seem like spending $7,500 for this makes any sense to me. I think we have a close enough relationship with Kavanaugh McDonald that she can run things for us we really need them, right? Save the money, I think. That's my
I agree. I think we're better off having them keep the software up to date at their expense and utilizing it when we need it. I don't see the sense of spending this kind of money.
For the ones that she just did, how much did she charge us?
For the
I know that we got it, but I don't recall. The sustainability, because each one of those is a simulation.
sustainability. Now that was a big study. That was 10,000.
And then it had multiple scenarios that they should have to do.
Right, that one wouldn't be a good example. But here we had some administration work done, and that was 1,400. That could have included, and if I remember correctly, there was a divorce in there, a couple of other reviews in there.
I mean, is there anyone here that would suggest we move ahead with this? I'm not seeing anyone who wants to do that, all right?
No.
I don't think so. Okay. All right. Then we will move on. Discussion and action on the sustainability study.
Okay, so last month, July 31, board met, and Kavanaugh McDonald presented the results of the May meeting, where the board came up as a collective with 4 plan designs. We called them Plan Design A, B, C, and D. Each plan design was simulated straightforward and then simulated with a 2% escalator to the contributions. They all offer cost savings, but they all come with benefit changes. Okay. And we have heard already from the chair of the retirement committee, legislative retirement committee, that wants to see the information, but they're a little leery of any benefit changes. So at this point, what I'm going to do is take the report that was issued by Kavanaugh McDonald last July 31, along with put together a memorandum outlining the history of the project, and the results of the various history that each simulation we did, and present a memorandum to the board at the next meeting, and then share that memorandum with the school board. The board will have done a study, looked at options, and from there, the board is not in a position to make a recommendation one way or the other. The retirement board is not in a position to make a recommendation one way or the other. But we've done a study, and here are options, and here are the outcomes.
With respect to benefits.
Yes, the board is not in a position to make a recommendation with respect to benefits. Correct.
I would suggest that we bring it to our coalition as well.
Yes.
Because as a major item at our August 19th meeting to see where all the groups are in terms of, it's not a secret, everybody has seen it.
No, I won't be here August 19th.
It can be given to Linda for her to present. That would be my recommendation. Or someone else who would like to present that, because the scenarios that were put together by the other actuary and by Scott as an individual will also be considered on that day.
Okay.
But I think your plan is well taken. I think that's what we'll eventually want to do. So when would we have that ready to go then, in terms of here's the results of our study? You said by the September meeting?
Well, yeah, but because she said the 19th, we'll have it, I can have it done by the 15th.
By your September meeting, we'll have what you're saying ready.
The 19th is Monday, so yeah, by the 15th, which is next week. Yeah, before the 14th, actually.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Because the Better Together Coalition is meeting on the 19th.
I'm just talking about results of our study that we're going to give to the school board. When would that be ready?
I will try to have that finished by the 14th of August.
Oh, okay. So before you...
Yeah.
Is there a problem with sharing it with the Better Together Coalition prior to giving
I
it to
don't
the
care
school
what
board?
you do as far as that's concerned. That's fine. I'm just concerned about getting it to the school board, the one that can make the decision. So,
They're a part of that coalition, and getting feedback from that coalition is really helpful for them to move in some direction or the other. Yeah, hi, Delaney.
Okay.
Timing-wise, it would go to the school board first, then the coalition?
No, the coalition first.
Makes sense.
okay, is there further discussion on that item? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the financial and budget report.
Okay, so in your package are the financial statements for the period ending May 31. And at the end of May 31, the portfolio was valued at $1,267,000,000. Cash on hand. Flipping to cash on hand as of May 31, $11,572,000. For the period ending June 30, the portfolio was valued at $1,262,000,000, with cash on hand of $11,303,000. I will say that I have to work a little bit closer with financial services and accounting, trying to keep track of how much we need to draw down each month from the NIC. Because this month I was asked to draw down more again than normal, and no one can explain why. So we're going to work closer. Go sit down with the new controller and try to figure this out some more.
Is there idle funds sitting in our account because of that?
That's, if I looked at basic math with what our cash balance was for the end of June and what our report of expenses paid in July, I should have $135,000 left. But I was told I was overdrawn by $200,000.
We will get to the bottom.
Okay.
How would you like my assistance in that?
Let me start with Shane.
Shane?
Yeah. Shane and I work very well when he and I sit down together. I think he is his eyes are being opened. Okay, that ends the financial report.
Okay, are there questions of Cecilia regarding that? All right, seeing none, the next is the discussion on the last legislative session.
Okay, this year, the Unicamel's Retirement Committee Legal Counsel put together a summary of the 2019 bills that came under the Retirement Committee. I think she did a really great job just summarizing everything for everyone. I will use this opportunity to discuss LB 31, which is the bill requiring the study of feasibility of transitioning the management of OSERS to the Nebraska the Nebraska NPERS, Public Employees Retirement Board. In June, the director sent me a list of questions, and there were roughly 86 questions. They were broken down between administration questions and IT questions. I've begun answering them on the administration side. Much of that was information that could have gone to our website, but here are the questions, so here's the link to the website, here's where you find the answers. The IT questions are a little more in-depth, so I've called together a small group of OPS members consisting of Human Resources, OPS Legal Counsel sitting in, and IT to help process through these IT questions. We're going to meet again later on this month and then start filtering answers over to the Nebraska the Nebraska Public Employees Retirement Board.
So is NPERS running the study then?
Yes. I'm in constant contact with the director, knowing that, we're going to feed this information into them. Unfortunately, the law was written that said within 30 days. No one anticipated almost 90 questions and the detail of the questions. So we are in constant contact. He's already received 3 sets of emails from me of here's information. I'm keeping track of it. It's been color-coded. And he has already expressed to me that he hasn't even had a chance to look at what I've sent to him. So my intent is truly to have it over to him finished by September. And this report is not due. It is due to the clerk of the legislature by June 30, 2020. But I want to have everything to him this side of 2019.
I understand NPERS is in charge of writing the report. Are we going to have a chance to review it before it goes to the clerk? See what...
I will make that request. Any questions?
And then are you how are we, because that's got to be an extra cost on our end.
Yes. We are keeping track of our hours, staff hours, yes.
Yeah, I think I had a concern about that because a lot of it is coming over and our staff is asked. And
I'm not keeping track of what they're doing. Only me, my time, or like Tim had to do some work, some digging. I told him to keep track. It was like an hour and a half.
Okay. I have. I'm going to stick. My concern remains on that. So, a person from my team is going to share that with Embers to make sure that we aren't doing work and being charged for work. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah.
That's right. The districts.
Right, so it's only my time and the OSERS staff time. I'm not keeping track of Connie Wickham's time, right? I'm not keeping track of that.
Have anything further on that?
And that ends the legislative report. I just thought it was a really good report that she put together, and I wanted to make it part of the minutes.
Okay, thank you for that.
Just out of curiosity, is there any, I know that the time frame for submitting the final report, are they planning to have a rough draft finished before the legislative session begins, or is there going to be an interim study sometime in December where they release some of this stuff, or is this all just guided by the June 30th?
Right now, as far as I know, it's just June 30.
Okay, then we'll move on now to the executive director's report.
Okay, so I began telling you about that was the first thing on my list, the study update, and I will keep this a part of the executive director's report. Again, my intent is September, October, we have answered all their questions. There may be some follow-up once they start digging into the answers, but I want us to be finished by September. I asked McGrath North, particularly Peter Langdon, to take a look at the Nebraska Uniform Disposition of Unclaimed Property Act. So I just want to share some information with the board. So we all have heard about the state treasurers being responsible for unclaimed property, okay? And there are different categories to unclaimed property. There's something called, salary and wages. So someone comes to work for an employer, they quit after their first week, the employer still has to pay them, and they've moved, and there's a check floating out there, right? That needs to be turned over within 1 year to the state treasurer. Retirement has its own category, okay? The time frame is 5 years if there's been no contact with the recipient for 5 years. And we actually do have some people, we have two, they are still within that 5-year limit, but it's interesting to know there are two people out there that we're going to try to make an effort to find, so they have some outstanding checks, okay?
But they stopped. I mean,
No.
they continued to
They
accrue
were
a benefit. Just
right,
fine.
yeah.
But they could be dead. As far as you know.
Well, actually, one is dead, and we know we need to find. That's another story.
Oh, okay.
One is dead. So they had checks from 2016. They died in 2018. Never cashed these two checks in 2016. So that one I do want to talk with Peter a little bit more. Now to me, that one is turn that over to the state, because we can't be responsible for who the beneficiary of that money is, right? So that's one definitely. But there are two others that, we're not within that 5 years, but we still have had contact with them. So now let's try to find them and,
If this money is direct deposited to a bank account.
No, these
then
are physical checks.
I know,
yeah.
but then that would become the bank's problem.
Correct.
Not our problem anymore.
Correct.
So the fewer physical checks we have, the better.
Right. Right.
For this kind of problem.
Okay. I want to let the board know that on July 3rd, the state of Nebraska deposited their 2% contribution to the OSERS plan in the amount of $7,420,302. Yay! And then in November, we will be asked to report our 2019 OSERS payroll so that PERS can work it into their appropriations for 2020. Okay. I want to let the board know that the Nebraska Accountability Form C was filed for the second quarter 2019 on July 16th. It was due July 31, so it was filed ahead of time, and that is our accountability board with regards to our government relations. The 2019 audit of financial statements by Simon Johnson will begin next month. We were going to have them at our August meeting to have that one-on-one talk with the board where I step out of the room. But because of the change of date, it's being moved to September. So they will be here at the September meeting to have that one-on-one talk with the board where I step out of the room. And that's where you say, you know, look at this, look at that.
Be sure they know the new date.
Yes, yeah. As soon as I get back. Okay. Also, at the June meeting, I mentioned that Aon Consulting has a service where they will review insurance coverage. And I asked them to take a look at our fiduciary liability insurance and just kind of compare, are there some opportunities for some cost savings? How do we compare to others? I just got back their analysis. I've had a meeting with them, a phone meeting, but I haven't had a chance to digest it, and I want to kind of share some information with our legal counsel. So we'll bring that back to you at the September meeting. And that ends my executive director report. I'm sorry, I had two add-ons. Also at the June meeting, I talked about board policy. Unfortunately, I did not have an opportunity to kind of finish that and pull it together as tightly as I wanted to, so I will bring that back in September. And vacation is a little late this year, so I will be on vacation August 15th through August 26th. Access to email will be limited to mornings.
We have your cell numbers.
And you have my cell number. That will be limited to mornings.
That's a pretty good plan.
Why don't you just limit it overall? You're supposed to be on vacation.
We won't
That's
bother
why I said
you.
limited.
We won't bother you unless we have to.
Jim knows the code. That means, no, you really do need to answer that.
Is that everything you want?
And then that ends my executive director report.
Okay. Any questions of Cecilia? All right. If not, we'll move on to trustees report. I guess I would just maybe start. There's three of us went to the NCTR conference at Berkeley here last month. I guess it was last month. Several really good sessions. One I'll bring up here that was called "The Power of Personalized Medicine," and I thought it was real interesting. You think, what does this have to do with retirement? Well, I'll tell you. Has anybody here done the 23andMe kind of test or the Ancestry.com? Nobody? You have. Okay, so a few people have done that. I mean, that's kind of interesting because it gives you this sort of background about your history and all this. Well, this person was here. It has this company that goes in and they test your DNA and they marry that up with the kind of medications that you're taking, so they know that how they're going to impact you going forward. Because you talk about people as they get retirement age and they start taking all these drugs. Drugs are counteracting each other and they're harmful, and et cetera, et cetera. So by looking at this, they'll tell you what not to take, and then you take this to your doctor. And it was really fascinating. You say, well, what retirement? A lot of systems, of course, have medical benefits where that really could be important. But also it tells you this kind of thing is coming, this personalized medicine, where people are going to be living much longer. We already kind of see that. So with the advent of these kind of things and this kind of technology, it just goes to show people will live longer. And so pension plans like ours, like all of them, have to start planning for that kind of advent coming forward. So I just thought that was kind of fascinating. Anyway, Roger, I'll let you.
I found that one also very fascinating. What they found is that certain people's DNA prohibit them from metabolizing certain medications. So if you're on a medication that your DNA says is no good, you're wasting money. And there are other medications you could get on that. The Kentucky Teachers Retirement System is now undergoing a pilot project with this guy. I think they've got 16,000 retirees in Kentucky, maybe more than that, with that vicinity. And roughly half of them have agreed to have their DNA tested, and about half of those have actually been finished. And of the ones they've finished, 80% of them have found that there's medication problems, that they need to be on something different. They're intending to use this to reduce the total costs of the medical care, not just the drugs, but also the hospital visits, that kind of thing. And he's done that in a number of other private companies as well. The Educators Health Alliance says, although they don't do strictly drugs, they also have a drug program. And I sent the contact information from this gentleman to them and suggested they might want to look into that as possible benefit for EHA subscribers. We'll see whether or not it goes in place. The people I've sent it to all seem interested in trying to do it. And he said he's willing to come out to any group and do a relatively high level of discussion of what the kind of work he does, what kind of scope of it is. And eventually all of this will be part of the public data that he's able to put into some sort of communication. I found that was just absolutely fascinating. In fact, I've got the guy's business card. That's how I got his contact information sent to the EHA.
We did one of those tests for one of my kids. He had a reaction to a medication, and they did a full DNA scope. Then it came back, these drugs could cause this based on your DNA makeup, and these drugs are safe, and we can take that to the doctor and really figure out what the best options are. So it's a real tool.
I would never have guessed that. I'm glad to hear
for
that.
For a 10-year-old, I mean, it's kind of really helpful.
There was a couple of reports that we heard. There was one that they released a study in California about are the California retirees better off with a DC plan or a DB plan? And it's a fairly lengthy report from NERS, and it shows quite clearly that the 80% of the California members are better off with the DB plan than they would be the DC plan. And that includes all the short-term employees that they're expecting to be better off with the DC plan. They found with California, they've also done studies in other states, that there really is not the turnover that people think there is in the school employees. There's a big turnover in the first 5 years. But once you've been around for 5 years, you're basically there for life. So all the turnover is in the first 3 or 4 years, and after that, it's a very stable population. And the stable populations are all better off with the DB plan than they are with the DC plan. They did studies in Connecticut, Colorado, Georgia, Kentucky, Missouri, and Texas with the turnover. Again, all of them showed the same thing. Colorado had the least result because it's not just school employees in Colorado, it's every state employee. But they all show the same thing. The turnover is not very high after they qualify for a benefit that's vested. There's an interesting study. I just got news on it yesterday from NERS. They're releasing this report tomorrow at the NASRA conference. And this report is about a study in Kentucky, Alaska, Michigan, and West Virginia. All states, all those 4 states have had a major conversion to a hybrid plan of some sort or another, and they've now been around for long enough they can actually do an analysis. What's the results of having people switch to a hybrid plan? And in every case, it costs money to convert to a hybrid plan. It doesn't save money. The taxpayers' cost goes up, or has gone up in all 4 of those states. There was no change in the funding ratio. People were hoping that the funding ratio would be changing. It has not changed the funding ratio. It cuts retirement security, and it gives increased challenges in recruiting and retaining employees in all 4 states. The report's going to be released tomorrow, and it'll be available. I think there's a webinar coming up later this week on that same report.
Can you send us some information about that?
I'll send you.
Can the listener get a copy of the reports? And that would be interesting.
I'll send the link to you, and so you can send it out to everybody. It kind of blows a hole in the idea that you can save money by going to a hybrid, because it doesn't save money. It costs money. And it doesn't improve the funding ratio. In fact, the general conclusion was, no matter what you do with benefits, the only way to increase funding ratios is put more money in. Money is what it's all about. It's not about benefits. It's about getting money. Anyway, I found it fascinating. There's something else I was going to say. I really enjoyed the classroom type of atmosphere that they had at Berkeley. It was not a bunch of people just talking heads. It was like a learning situation at a school. That's a unique feature of the NCTR trainings, and I really enjoyed that. I guess there's not much else I've got.
Okay. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Bob. Okay, Matt, I know you attended too. Would you like to add?
Yeah. First, I'd like to thank OSERS for the opportunity to go down to this conference in California. Myself and the people I represent, the unclassified, had a lot of questions and concerns on what actually takes place at these workshops out of town. Workshops as far as education, the costs, and the travel reimbursements. So I was kind of riding the fence on should I go or not, but you don't know till you try. So I went ahead and went. Started off, the first night was basically for all new members, 3 years and under. And met a lot of new people, brand new members. We went over Robert rules, fiduciary duties for new members. And we had a gentleman there from the Federal Relations updating us from Washington. And he talked about retirement reform, part-time workers, new tiers, 401 contributions. We kind of got into the Teamsters pension and what's going on with them. All in all, really, for 2019, he said it's pretty quiet there in Washington. Really not much going on with any kind of retirement reform or anything. So I thought that was interesting. And then what I did like was met some people from Minnesota and Colorado, Missouri. So just some facts that they're pointing out to me. That was a lady in Missouri was saying they actually pay 29% into the fund, 14.5% from the employers and 14.5% from the state. They were very surprised that we never held an election in the past.
For trustees.
Yeah, for the trustees. They're surprised about that. Don't quote me on this, but kind of what I got out of it was a lot of the states already merged, or the plans already merged with some of the states. So it's a kind of a positive, negative thing. Gentleman in Minnesota was telling me that like the COLA and the cost of living adjustment basically is kind of off of the return rate of what the plan does.
Yes.
If the plan does good, you get your 2.5%. If there's no return, then the retirees, you might get 0.5% for that year. So it's kind of rolls with the fluctuation of the market. And then the session kind of started. The first gentleman was kind of a motivated speaker to me. Kind of threw out a lot of questions to you. He wants to, make sure you know where the board is. Make sure you have a vision statement. And he kind of got into how quick things are changing in the world. He quoted that Amazon upgrades 6 times a second, and that we need to constantly be thinking upgrading your investment portfolio and just trying to keep on with daily life.
There'll be 1 billion people over 65 by 2030 on the planet.
So just keep that in mind. Business, education, always upgrading, always changing. And then he did talk about S&P stock companies, where before they used to be lifetime stocks or lifetime, and he's saying 12 years, and 12 years or under is all they really last in the S&P anymore, which I thought was slow. But he was talking about leadership and storytelling helps, people who you are and whatnot. Did have a gentleman talking about new thinking, new economy. That was mostly with robots, talking about robots and in the future. That was a federal relation. Then we had an actuary guy. His name was Rocky from Siegel Consulting. And he was describing the DB versus the DC plan, which I thought was pretty good. Just the benefits of keeping the employers around, using them as a recruiting thing, your DB plan versus your DC plan. And they were talking about hedge funds, and that was it. Really, that professor from Washington, I thought he was real good too. He kind of got into the lower return bonds, safe but more expensive, is what he was saying. The DB plan is expensive, but expensive is safe. And he said, anytime you got low risk, low return, be careful, because it don't sound right. And they're talking about ESG investing, just a different way of investing. And that's about all I really got. All in all, I thought the conference was great. Some great information, some great points were taken. Great speakers as well. The downside was some information not really concerned with OSERS or the retirement plan, kind of a thinking thing. I'm not going to accept any reimbursements for my meals, hotel stays, or transportation to and from the airport. I'd like to see maybe some of that eliminated, some of the reimbursement be eliminated, and try to use it more here at OSERS, for education and workshop purposes, where we can all attend together or bring someone in and really talk about a main topic of our situation here. I think we can be more efficient right here at home with somebody talking to all of us. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other? Do you have a trustee report?
I got something real quick. Dr. Logan, I sent y'all emails about Wayne and I do need those pretty promptly here so we can wind it up and be on the September's agenda.
Okay.
So if you can, did you get it, Matt?
I did.
Okay. No worries.
That was over.
Talk offline.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
So you just want comments?
Yeah, comments so that we can put it together and
Validate or invalidate what we came up with, I guess.
Right.
So let's know if you're okay with it or not.
suggestions.
And it's a working document. So.
Yes. And then also, we should probably we definitely should congratulate Wayne on his promotion. At least I would call it a promotion.
Stepping into a new role. I don't know.
Stepping up to a new role.
What is
So
that?
August 1st, I took over as the coordinator of secondary education. So late because I was at a meeting that was scheduled for me this morning. So trying to figure everything out and balance my life. And I'm still doing my old job until they find a replacement. So
I will get with you after the meeting because we changed the date and time of the meeting.
yeah, I'll follow you to your office after we're done and we can chat some more. Me too. Lance.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any other trustee want to report? I will, what's next? Okay, now I'd ask for any new business.
We need to have a resolution of appreciation for Jim Repa for the NCTR meeting. And I would suggest that Cecilia be asked to draft a copy of that for our consideration and action in September.
Okay. That would be a good idea. Okay, any other new business?
I have a question. On our website, can we get that handbook updated?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we're working on it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I do realize it's outdated. I've looked at draft number 2.
So with all the new tiers.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, anything else for new business? Going? All right, if not, I will adjourn the meeting at 10:41.